obligation to prove
In
it.
his pledge survey, is that what he's working on?
Well, we're just trying to determine ownership so that I know what I have to apply. And so that I can frame, you know, acquire right of way. Or I need to sit up here for council and say, hey, that intersection, 2 years.
Since you would,
I know you have.
if I could, Wednesday afternoon, if I have time to look at it, I just got to be premature.
Great.
3 o'clock, I'm but if you could send it to me, I would probably have time on Wednesday afternoon.
So what about the tournament for the liabilities? We were always going to require them, but I'm not concerned with that because we have the eminent domain as a tool. But if I can stay off the court ground, you know, that makes it so I can, we can work out the other stuff. We can figure all that stuff out. It's just,
So the court's on the left, head to Swix on the left.
and right.
I knew it was on the right.
But they also
6 o'clock, we're going to bring our November 13th City Council meeting to order, and we'll begin with roll call, please.
Walters?
Here.
Dvorak?
Here.
Sarchet?
Here.
Vogel? Here. Anderson?
Here.
Ask for a motion to approve the agenda and a second.
Second?
Roll call?
Vogel? Yes. Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Dvorak?
Yes.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a presentation from MPO. Dylan, come forward, please. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. My name is Dylan Mullenix. I'm the interim director of the Des Moines area MPO. It's good to see some familiar faces. Some of you I know, some of you I don't. What I'm here to do tonight is really just to update you on the MPO. It's been a while since we've been out meeting with any of the city councils really, so we're trying to make an effort to get out and talk with all of you. You are dues paying members into this organization, so we want to make sure that we're doing our best to keep you informed of what's going on. Like I said, it's been a couple of years just because of COVID and some staffing issues, but hopefully this is something we get to a regular routine of and come out at least once a year or so, however you want to have us, just to give you an update of what we've been up to. So tonight I'm just going to talk a little bit about what the MPO is, and I'm going to talk about a couple of key projects and initiatives that we have coming up we want to put on your radar, and we can have a conversation about any of this, so feel free to ask me questions as we go along. So as we get into this, just about the MPO. So for those of you who aren't familiar, the MPO is a federally required organization that works on transportation planning issues. MPOs are required in urban areas over 50,000. So Polk City is part of the Des Moines urban area. At least for now, we'll talk about that in a moment, maybe too. You're on your own urban area, but you'll still be within the Des Moines MPO boundary. They were created by the federal government back in the 60s when the interstate system was coming through. They said, you know, how are we going to get all the communities in those urban areas to talk to one another? So they formed what's called an MPO. It's really a forum by which people like you, city council members, mayors, and so forth get together and talk with their peers on regional issues. Even though it's federally required, everything else about it is really locally controlled. So we're a 2080 organization that was set up back in decades ago. And it's really made up of the cities, counties, transit authorities, Department of Transportation, and so forth. From our area, we get to control who's on the board and how it operates. MPOs have a few key functions, and like I said, it's really that decision-making structure. It's really just that forum. Former Director Barr used to say the MPO is the table and chairs for the region. So we provide that forum. You all come and participate in that process. Like I said, we're transportation related, so we identify and evaluate transportation options, help provide funding to address those, address the needs that are identified. There's a few key requirements. One is a long-range transportation plan. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We also do a transportation improvement program, and that's sort of like a community's capital improvement program where it just identifies the next several years' worth of projects that are coming down the pipe. We have to be performance-based, so we can't make decisions because of political whims. They have to be data-driven, performance-based, and they have to involve. In contrast, what the MPO doesn't do, typically MPOs, and ours falls into this as well, we don't build or own or operate. We're not the transit system. We don't go out there and fix the roads. We really just provide that mechanism where we help you identify what these are, help fund those needs, facilitate that discussion, and then point you in the right direction to do what you need to do. We're one of 9 MPOs in the state. So like I said, any urban areas over 50,000 50,000 are MPOs. And our MPO has 20 member communities. So Polk City is more of our northernmost member. Then we go all the way down to Norwalk on the south, Mitchellville on the east, over to Waukee on the west, and all points in between. Like I said, we're a 2080 organization, and we've been a standalone MPO since 1983. So this is our 40th anniversary. Prior to that, the MPO was part of a larger regional council or council of government. We don't have one of those anymore, so the MPO has been independent of that ever since. In terms of representation and makeup, every community gets a seat at the MPO policy committee. Councilmember Walter serves on the MPO's policy committee as well as the executive committee. We also have a technical committee, and Chelsea serves on the technical committee for the MPO. For communities that are larger, over 50,000, they get additional representation. So in our metro, City of Des Moines has 5 representatives, Ankeny and West Des Moines have 2, everybody else has 1. Like I mentioned, we have an executive committee. That's really just a subset of the policy committee, and it's geographically based. So Polk City's in with a couple other northern or northwestern communities, which they pick 2 communities to represent that executive. Councilman serves on to represent that sub-area. We have a larger structure, and this might be difficult to read, but you have the handout, and maybe you can point it, make it a little more clear. We have those 3 committees in the middle. Everything runs through our technical committee, who makes a recommendation up the chain to policy, executive policy. We have a number of other subcommittees, working groups, roundtables. On the bottom right of that image, you can see a lot of roundtables, such as the bicycle pedestrian roundtable, the freight roundtable, the smart city roundtable, and so forth. This is a way for us to receive input from the people that actually use the system in whatever mode of transportation that might be or topic area, recognizing that our staff nor our board members know everything there is to know. So we really want to hear from the public, we want to hear from the users, and that's one of the things. I want to pivot real quick to talk about a couple upcoming initiatives that we have. One, like I mentioned, is our long-range transportation plan. This is a federal requirement for us. We have to update this once every 5 years. And our plan is due next November of 2024. This is important because, like all plans, it identifies needs and goals and objectives and so forth. But the teeth really come in here because anything that is federally funded through the US DOT, whether that's a project from the MPO, a project you might apply to, directly a project that the DOT is working on, whatever it might be, has to be justified by this. So if you have something in mind that you want to do, you need to make sure that it's in that plan or justified by that plan. And so that's really what our call to action is start thinking about those projects if you haven't already. And I know we've been working with your staff and working with staff from other communities. But we're going to start doing a call for projects here probably in December or early January to identify what is that next 10, 15 years worth of projects, what are those, so we can make sure they're in the plan, we justify them, make sure that everything's figured out the way it needs to be, so that they get into the plan and then you qualify for what funds might be coming. We're also taking a look at growth and make sure that our planning area boundary incorporates what it needs to incorporate. That's not as big of a concern for this part of the metro, but that's something else we're working on right now. Another upcoming initiative that will run parallel to the long-range plan is what's called the Safe Streets and Roads for All plan, or a comprehensive safety action plan. Through the federal bipartisan infrastructure bill that passed a couple of years ago, there's a lot of new funding from US DOT for a lot of different topics. One of them is safety. And one of the key programs through that is the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program. This is a discretionary grant, meaning we had to apply to it, and there's really 2 sides to it. There's a planning side of it, and then there's an implementation side. The interesting thing is, before you can apply for the implementation side of things, you have to have a qualifying plan. What the MPO did was applied for $800,000 for a planning project to make a comprehensive safety action plan that'll cover the whole region. City of Des Moines in the last year or so did their own Vision Zero plan, is what they call it, for safety. We basically do the same thing for all of the other communities in the Des Moines metro. And what that will mean is that at the end of the day, once that plan is done, because it qualifies, Polk City as well as all the other communities will then be eligible for implementation dollars through that program. So we'll take care of the planning stuff for you, and then you can apply for the implementation dollars afterwards. That plan is just getting off the ground now. Our consultant team, they will be coming out and starting to do work, and they'll probably be coming to meet with members of the community here pretty soon, whether that's city staff, members of the council, could be public safety departments and so forth as well, just to understand what are the safety needs, where do you see problems, where do you see solutions or potential solutions, and how to address those. So that's something else as far as call to action. Start thinking about where do you have specific problems in this community with safety, whether that's vehicle crashes, pedestrian conflicts. I know there's trails and recreation that happen around too. So where do you have issues, and then then we can start thinking about what are some potential solutions for those that can make a plan to set you up. Speaking of funding, and this is one of my final points, the MPO receives about $16 million every year that we allocate to communities. We do that starting in the fall, so probably in December here next month, we will start with our call for projects for you to submit to. These funds are very flexible in what they can be used for, so they can be used for roads, bridges, trails, transit, whatever within the realm of transportation. You see on the table on the right there, on that image, gives you some funding categories that the MPO has identified through its long-range plan. So you can see up to 30% can be used for roadway capacity projects, such as new roadways, expanding existing roadways. Minimum of 20% for bridges, minimum of 25% for maintenance, and so on and so forth. I would point out system optimization is one that is typically underutilized. So if there's, as you start thinking about projects for your community, maybe that's one to look into a little bit, just because there's not a lot of projects that look for that. Like I said, $16 million, and the practice is typically communities apply to that. There's a committee of the MPO that looks at all those projects, here's presentations for project sponsors, and then makes a decision of how do we award that $16 million out to the various communities. A couple other funding programs that follow that same, basically that same trajectory in terms of schedule. There's also a transportation alternatives program. These are for trails, sidewalks, streetscapes, and other things like that. And that's what the city's been successful in the past. Recently, we get about $1.5 million annually, just because of the infrastructure bill that changed some things last year. We didn't award funding last year, so this year we'll have about $3 million to. And then there's a new program called the Carbon Reduction Program. This is a newer program through the infrastructure bill again. We've not awarded any money through this program yet, but essentially we'll get about $1.1 million a year. Or if we want to look at it, we've got about $7 million to award over 5 years that the MPO is looking at. That we'll probably take our time, work through the long-range plan before we decide how to allocate those dollars. Like I mentioned, the program schedule, December, we'll start soliciting applications. Those will be due back early 2024. The process of the presentations and the scoring and so forth before final awards are made, probably in May time. There's a map here that shows you how funding over the last 5 years or so has been allocated throughout the community. We've got a table that's maybe probably a little easier to focus on. You can see Polk City's highlighted there. One thing the MPO really tries to pay attention to is what the return on investment is for the assessments you pay into the MPO. So you can see there that Polk City's got about a 40-to-1 return on its on the dues paid versus the amount of funding you've received through the MPO. So this changes obviously every year. We try to keep that up to date. That is something that the board tries to make sure we look at. If you pay dues to this organization, you want to make sure you're getting something.
Can you go back to that map?
Yeah.
Is this literal? So is there a sliver outside of the boundary? Is that just not updated? Is there some reason that your jurisdiction doesn't completely encompass ours?
There is a slight little boundary. Yeah, if you look at the planning area boundary, there is just a little tiny sliver, I think, where the boundary may have gone outside. We're actually working on this right now. Probably by the end of the year, we'll have a new planning area where we adjust.
Okay. So there's okay.
So there's no issues with, that you're not full members or something like that. It's just as you annex outside of that boundary, especially on these communities on the fringe, that's something we just have to keep up. We'll do an update. I will note that one thing we've talked with Polk County about is maybe the entire county comes into the MPO. We still have to have some discussions with the county on that. But if that were to happen, the boundary around Polk City really wouldn't matter because the entire county. That's really what I have for you tonight. So I'm happy to take any questions or address any issues, concerns, and otherwise just wanted a quick update. Look forward to doing this periodically.
Thanks, Dylan.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
she was doing. I was intrigued, I know that. Time to move on to item number 5. It's time to close the regular meeting and open the public meeting on the proposed amendment to the Polk City Area 2 Urban Renewal Area. Jenny, when was the notice published?
November 3rd.
Have we had any written comments received for or against the URA amendment?
No, sir.
At this time, I'd request staff to provide a report. Chelsea?
For the council's review this evening is a proposed amendment to the city's urban renewal plan. We are amending for 3 projects with this amendment. We would be adding Faction Investments Project at 1010 Tyler Street. We would increase the administrative support program, and we would add a new downtown improvement grant program. So some details on the Faction Investments. They are building a new commercial business at 1010 Tyler Street. The development agreement would be in front of the council December 11th for review and consideration. The estimated cost of the project is $3 million, and the development agreement would be tax increment financing incentives not to exceed $484,000. The second part of this amendment is to increase the administrative support program using tax increment financing. The current program is not to exceed $250,000, and we would like to increase this to $500,000. This is indicative of just increasing costs with the things that we're having expenses for related to urban renewal and TIF. The third item is for a future downtown grant assistance program. So the city council recently talked about this in a work session, but this program could offer grant assistance to businesses on the town square to make exterior improvements to their buildings. So this would also be a multi-step process in that we need to amend our urban renewal plan first, and then a policy or a program would come to the council in the future for consideration. So those are the 3 projects we are amending for.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have a motion and a second, and then any further discussion on a public hearing on the proposed amendment. We should ask first if there's anyone here who wishes to be heard for or against the URA amendment. Nobody? So then we need a motion to close the public hearing and reopen the regular meeting. Second. Thank you. And a roll call?
Sarchet?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
So A, public hearing on proposed amendment to the Polk City Area 2 Urban Renewal Area. Motion to approve that? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Vogel?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore? Sarchet?
So then 5A1, Resolution 2023-131 to approve Urban Renewal Plan Amendment, Polk City Area 2 Urban Renewal Area. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
Yes.
And then item 2, Resolution 2023-132, setting a date of meeting at which it is proposed to approve a development agreement with a private developer, including annual appropriation tax increment payments. A motion, please.
So moved.
And a second? And any,
This is the 1010 Tyler that you were talking.
Yes. Yes, you're setting the public hearing for December 11th.
any other discussion? Roll call.
Anderson?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
DeVore?
Yes.
Sarchet?
Yes.
Vogel?
Yes.
Item 6, public comment period. This is the time and place for comments for any item other than those that are a public hearing. Has anyone contacted us, Jenny?
No, sir.
All right, then we'll move on to item 7, which is consent items, and I'll ask for a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Question on O. Mike on the brush pile chipping and removal. I know, we've gone with other, I don't know if it was this entity before, but private groups to do this. We talked to MWA this time, or we did that once, right? Is this not a sustainable thing for them to do, or?
The jury's still out for them, but their machine is broke down and they're not repairing it at this time, which those machines do that quite often. So we had to go this route to get it done.
Anything else? Roll call.
Walters,
Yes.
Dvorak,
Yes.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
So let's move on to item 8, then business items. A, Resolution 2023-137, indicating intent to participate and authorizing the inclusion of the City of Polk City in final draft agreement establishing Central Iowa Water Works. Chelsea, anything on that?
Yes, for the council to review and consider this evening is a resolution of intent to participate in Central Iowa Water Works. This is not approval of the 28E agreement. This is just you approving a resolution stating that Polk City would be included in that 28E agreement.
So we'll ask for a motion to approve and a second, and then any further discussion.
So moved.
Second, I think one thing that I guess in talking about, I know we just spent half an hour or whatever, 45 minutes in the work session, but if some of those similar bullet points can be, and I don't know if this is our responsibility, in fact, I don't think that it probably is, but just to get it out there, this is a tough thing to absorb for the people, but it is a substantive enough thing that we should try something, and if it doesn't get any clicks, but maybe some of the information that you had outlined in our work session get posted to the website.
Okay.
The way I see this vote tonight, that's enabling us to hear the rest of the story, or enabling us to hear the rest of the story.
Roll call, please.
Sarchet,
Yes.
Vogel,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Dvorak.
Item B then, memorandum of agreement with the United States Census Bureau. And Chelsea?
So for the council to review and consider this evening is a memorandum of agreement with the Census Bureau for a special census. So to give you some information, Polk City had their last official census count in 2020. Our population from that count was 5,543 people. I am estimating a population of 6,770 to give you an idea of return on investment for this evening. So tentatively, we are scheduled to hold a special census September 16th, 2024. The cost of the special census will be an estimated $401,516. We will pay true costs only, so there could be there could be a reduction in that cost estimate based on true cost. There could be an increase in that. But that is what the memorandum of agreement says for you tonight. So the benefits of having a special census, the main benefit is the city receives road use tax, and we receive $1 per capita road use tax. So with a higher population, we would estimate that we could bring in an additional $815,000 in road use tax alone. And that would offset the cost of the special census. So I put some figures together for the council packet this evening, but my recommendation would be that the council proceed with the special census. Yes, it is a cost. It's a very expensive cost, but the return that we get with road use tax alone would be worth it.
So let's have a motion to approve in a second, and then any additional discussion.
So move.
Second.
Anything? Roll call, please.
Vogel,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Dvorak, Sarchet.
Yes.
Item C, second reading of ordinance 2023-9700, approving rezoning for On With Life from R1 to R3 with restrictions. Travis?
Yeah, so tonight, is the second reading of the unapplied rezoning. As previously discussed, they had more than 50% consenting adjacent property owners. And this is a cleanup rezoning, essentially taking an existing non-conforming lot and cleaning it up so that the use that's proposed it matches the zoning. The restrictions on this rezoning, restrict the use to a senior living facility or similar. That was a concern of some of the adjacent property owners, that you could rezone it to R3 and knock the building down and build apartment buildings, because that is a conforming use within that. And the property owner has consented to that. Staff would also recommend that you waive the third this rezoning.
Okay, so we'll deal with the first part first, which is motion to approve second reading of ordinance 2023-9700, approving rezoning on with life from R1 to R3 with restrictions. Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I've talked to a few of the neighbors up there, and once they found out, just straightening out what was done, was in position with anybody I talked to, from any other neighbors.
Roll call?
Vogel,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
DeVorak. Sarchet.
So we'll move on to C1, optional waive third reading. Is there anyone who sees any reason why we shouldn't waive the third reading? Nope. Do we need a motion, Amy?
You
Motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
And roll call.
Walters.
Yes.
DeVorak. Sarchet.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Moving on to D then, third reading of ordinance 2023-8100, amending chapter 115, cable television regulations. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walters.
Yes.
DeVorak. Sarchet.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
And then item E, Snyder and Associates invoicing the amount of $102,520.25 for September 2023 engineering services. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Anderson,
Yes.
Walters.
Abstain.
DeVorak. Sarchet.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
So let's move on to item 9, reports and particulars. Anything from staff? Anything from the city manager?
We have nothing. Thank you.
Anything from the council?
Will we be having the Go Polk City annual report / funding discussion here at one of these next two meetings?
December 11th.
Okay.
And I don't have anything to add either. So we'll move on to,
I had one thing,
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yep. I wanted to thank the Friends of the Library. They had a really fun event on Sunday. It was a puzzle competition, and I love puzzles, so I loved it to begin with. But it was really cool. They had it at the Mexican restaurant La Familia on a Sunday afternoon, so I really appreciated them supporting a local business. The grand prize was then the gift certificates back to that business, so I know they're planning a few more. If you're interested, get ready. There was a team there that was like professional level. We thought we were pretty good, but turns out, yeah, there's some hot competition out there. But I really love, like I said, love the idea in so many ways. It supported the library, supported a local business. It was a really fun gap for community members here. So special thank you to the Friends of the Library for that.
item 10 then is adjournment. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same. We're adjourned until November 27th.